Hey, this is Gary from the Daily Stock Pick Podcast. I'm on YouTube Live every morning. I tried to record this. I just don't do well with scripts. You can see me walking around and stuff like that. But I'm live every morning on YouTube recording my podcast that provides you some stocks to invest in or even trade. My algorithm is in a charting software called Trendspider, and that's why I'm here today. I sat down with David Yoakum from Trendspider to get an overview of how powerful this tool is. Trendspider is a type of charting, technical analysis, and trading platform, one built by traders for traders. It's a unique set of integrated tools designed to help you find and time your trades with greater efficiency and precision. From backtesting to unusual options to texting you scenarios you've asked it to notify you about, Trendspider has something that everyone can use. I have a special code DSP25 that gets you 25% off, and I'll provide you my algorithm, custom watch lists, including my core portfolio, custom scanning tools, and if you listen to my podcast, you can find opportunities right along with me. Listen to the discussion I had with David and click the link below to sign up if you think it will help you in your investing or trading career. I personally have used this for 3 years now. Each year I come back as a paying customer knowing this tool is all I need to manage my portfolio. Good afternoon. It's Gary from the Daily Stock Picks podcast, I guess, YouTube Live. I've got David from Trendspider joining me, and we're kind of going to go over for the next half hour, however long it is. We're going to go over Trendspider. You guys know I have my algorithm in Trendspider. We go over it. It takes emotion. And the key thing that I was just telling David is it takes emotion out of your trade. That's the biggest thing that you can do is just, it tells you when to get in, when to get out. You still make your own decisions unless you want to use Trendspider's trading bot, which I've got a couple of people using as well. But essentially, David's here to guide us through, tell you what the opportunities are in Trendspider, because I only pretty much use my my algorithm, David. Honest to God, it's just a MACD strategy. It's super simple. I tell people when to get in and out, but Trendspider's got so many more things. So the first thing, I think the first thing that we'll go over is kind of just, I had just told you, Trendspider is sometimes overwhelming for people. So what's the best way for somebody to kind of just get in and start? Maybe they're not a technical trader. Maybe they're just getting started. Maybe they just started listening to my podcast. So what's kind of Trendspider's goal? I know on my screen, I've got the 9-day, the 21-day, the 50-day, and the 200-day with Bollinger Bands, MACD, some volume levels. I love your volume slider with the volume shelves, though, by the way. I haven't seen that on any other trading platform. But what does Trendspider, again, it's overwhelming sometimes. And I know you guys give a 7-day free trial, and that was what sucked me in. And I was able to get it set up super simple. But what do you guys typically see?
Yeah, so a little bit of background about us is we're currently in our 5th year of operation, so still pretty young. We have developed tons of features, as you've seen, that definitely can seem overwhelming. For starters, hopefully this presentation will be a good start for people to be able to kind of break down the platform and get to where they need to go to be able to learn and be able to see what they're looking for. We do have an education blog on the website, trendspider.com, which is pretty extensive. Every indicator that we have is referenced there, every feature. So tons of different kind of resources we have within trendspider.com that will be able to help. And I always encourage people to check out FinTwit, as always. FinTwit's got a lot of great names to learn from. So yeah, that's kind of the basics of.
And the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is amazing.
YouTube's great. Yeah, and most of those YouTube videos are linked on the website as well for, if we go over an indicator or a new feature alert, all those will be on YouTube and our website as well. So definitely some great resources.
Great. Well, let's get into kind of I know you have an educational program, so I'm just probably going to sit back and listen to you go over the education and pop in with questions every now and then.
Perfect. Yeah, that works for me. And go ahead, and are you able to see my screen there?
I am. I am. You've got a white background. I typically do the black background. So if people are watching this and they say, "Oh my God, this doesn't look like the Trendspider that Gary usually uses,"
Yeah,
um,
I
just know
love it.
it's completely customizable. So you guys that are listening know there's so many different features and different things that you can do. And this, while the look may be different, you're definitely going to be able to customize this to whatever you want. And your chart looks way easier than mine.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Everything within the platform is customizable, from the charts with changing colors to the indicators. You can change just about everything. So that's definitely key to starting out. And most of that too is going to be found with the gearbox on the top left there. So you can change all your candle colors, your chart type, the background, all of that. So those are the basics of getting set up just to see what you'd like to see before adding anything else like indicators and all that, which I'll get into here. So to start, I know you said you like to use MACD. That's your primary go-to for an indicator. RSI as well. I know you mentioned you have that in there from time to time. So both of those here on the bottom, which I'll show how to create in a second. Um, on the left side of the chart, you can see we have our indicator list. So this is going to be all the indicators that are in your library. So you can toggle them on and off at any point by just clicking the green box surrounded by it. You can see I have the 9 and 21 EMA cloud. I'm actually going to raise this color up a little bit so you can see it a little better on the video. So you can see that cloud there. So rather than just using the averages themselves, I think the clouds look pretty neat. And you can see when prices in between them. So that's kind of how I have my EMAs set up here. Like you said, 9 and 21. So to get these on your chart, you're going to want to go to manage indicators, and that's going to be at the top of your screen. At the indicator button, you're going to click the three dots next to it, and you'll be able to type in one of any of the 193 indicators we have currently. A sneak peek, we're hoping to bring out custom indicators very, very soon. So you're going to be able to build your own via JavaScript, and it's going to be pretty neat. So very excited for that. But yeah, so like I mentioned, you can add all the different indicators through here. Now, once you have them applied in your indicator list, that's when you'll see them pop up on the left side of your chart. So that's the basics of getting the indicators to your chart and how they'll look. So if you have anything in particular you want to see, if we don't have an indicator that you like, you can always reach out to our support team and we'll pass it on to our dev team to hopefully get that in the map to create. So
And that is one thing that I've really been impressed with Trendspider. And I was telling David before, their customer service is amazing, but I can't imagine you guys within 193 indicators have something that isn't there.
all right.
Like I'm just looking at these EMA clouds, and I'm like, okay, I didn't even know this stuff existed.
Right. It's yeah, hopefully I'll teach you a few things, and obviously everybody listening as well. There's so much to unpack, but going to try to keep it as simple as possible just to get the basics down, and also try to create a step-by-step kind of guide for anybody listening to on the podcast as well.
Well, and the other thing that I want to make sure that people know too, if they, in order to use my algorithm, they need to sign up for the middle level, which is elite service. But there's unlimited education as well. So they can schedule time one-on-one with somebody if they want help setting things up too, right?
Correct. Yep. So they'll be able to schedule time. I think there's a chance that may be getting. We may get rid of the one-on-ones in the near future. That's not set in stone or anything. That's just, I'm mentioning that in case they're viewing this in 6 months from now. But our support team via chat is always going to help. They help build scans, they help build strategy tests, or just answer basic questions as well. So like you said, they're some of the best guys out there, and I love the way they're able to interact with our customers. So definitely reach out to them if there's any questions.
Yeah, and if anybody has any questions, they're always free to reach out to me as well. I can't always answer, but I can always guide you towards a resource that would be able to provide it. So even if you don't get the one-on-one, you can actually just one-on-one with me too. So okay, sorry to interrupt.
All good. So we laid out the basis here for indicators on the platform, how you add them, how it looks. So from here, I also wanted to briefly touch on one of our recent features, which is chart patterns. Now, chart patterns are going to be automatically identified on your charts. We currently only have 5, but I know we are planning on bringing some more here in the near future, which will include inverse and regular head and shoulders patterns, and also hopefully cup and handle as well. So the patterns we have currently here that you can see on the top of my screen are double bottom, double top, and then the 3 different type of triangles being ascending, descending, and symmetrical. So when you have these selected, they're going to pop up on any chart that it identifies a double top or a double bottom. You can always change the settings going by clicking the 3 dots in the indicator list. But for the use of this example, I have these 3 or all 5 selected. You can see recently this was a double bottom is what this identified as, and then a double top up here. So those are kind of the basics of how they look. Now, if you want to scan for these patterns across certain lists, say you like to play dividend names, you want to see a possible double bottom, you can always do that with our market scanner. So our market scanner, we already have these built in. So if you do symmetrical triangle, for example, you will see enforce, break up, break down. I'm just going to say enforce to see if there's any current examples out there. So it's going to scan through. It's going to try to find any triangles that are relevant to the current pattern. You can see here, Walmart has a few right now. If I get rid of my double bottom and double top, you'll be able to see a symmetrical triangle. It's drawn with these blue lines. So that's automatically identified. Like I said, it's going to populate in the scan on the sidebar there. So you'll have all the different patterns automatically be shown to you, and also be able to find them throughout different names. So definitely give chart patterns a look. It can be very useful and save a lot of time. So from there, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I know you use Market Scanner. Usually the way my day starts is I start on YouTube Live and I do the Market Scanner live on YouTube. And I typically go through, I've got custom lists that I've built that I share for podcast listeners as well. But you guys just, I mean, I was noticing it this morning, the amount of lists that you have in that Market Scanner just to identify is incredibly helpful, to the point where, FinViz, I always tell people, hey, if you don't want to pay for Trendspider, go to FinViz and use their scanner to try and find fundamental breakouts. But you guys with that list, I mean, it's just an added benefit. Not only do you get access if you subscribe to my lists through the podcast, but you get access to all that stuff like symmetrical triangles. Do you guys have a double bottom or anything in that Market Scanner?
You can scan for double bottoms as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could scan for pretty much anything. The list is endless. And I think I went through there this morning and I was like, okay, how am I supposed to find a list in here?
All right.
So I was just trying to see, is there any place where you guys might publish like popular lists?
So we don't have them sorted by popularity, but the way to find the different lists, you'll have a watch list on the right side of your sidebar or your chart there when you sign up. So this is going to be standard. It'll just have a watch list. Now you can scroll through. You can see I have a lot of different scanners that I've created. I think I'm probably over 100 scans at this point, maybe 150. I've built tons of them in here, but I have, for example, my Roth IRA list. I have my global ETFs, current portfolio, what I'm holding. So you can create your own, but you can also search by scrolling to the bottom here. All the ones that we have added. So anything with recent halts, if you want to see ARC holdings, or you can just search it through the toolbar as well. So like energy sector.
I would highly suggest any subscriber that subscribes to Trendspider do their actual portfolio in the scanner list. Because part of the reason you subscribe to Trendspider is to take the emotion out of the trade. And if you can identify your watch list and your portfolio, and you come up with some type of strategy, or as I call it, the algorithm that you like to take emotion out of the trade, it just scans your portfolio. And part of my learnings over the past 20, 30 years of trading has been, if you manage too many stocks, I think I heard it today, diversity is the enemy of performance.
Yeah.
So again, I try and keep it to under 30 stocks that I typically do, but even 30 stocks and ETFs, it's a lot to track. And that's one thing that Trendspider has helped me with, that watch list, to be able to look at it.
Yeah, it can be very useful. And if I have a long portfolio, for example, if I'm swing trading long, I can have it scan for anything under its 21 EMA or whatever the case may be, to see what I might want to look to cut out of the portfolio. So tons of different applications for being able to use it in use cases. So we went over indicators, we went over the chart patterns, we went over watch list. I did want to get into building a back test. So being able to test your own strategy. For this example, we're just going to do a basic MACD strategy for your entry, and then potentially we could use EMAs to exit the strategy, whatever you'd like to do, Gary, but would love to go ahead and get into building a strategy for yourself and being able to see the results of it. So
Yeah, my algorithm, again, if you subscribe, I give you my algorithm, so we don't have to go over that. But you said that you were building a strategy that you have that you wanted to kind of go over, right?
yeah, I'd love to share that one. Um, so one I've been kind of teetering with, I see how it works on different assets, and I've seen pretty good success with its results so far, is the basic buying over the 8 EMA and selling under it. And this is going to be on the 65-minute time frame. People ask, why 65 minutes, why not the hour? 65 minutes just sets into the day at an equal proportion. So for example, the market's open, I believe 7.5 hours or 6.5, where the last hour will be split up into 30 minutes, but the 65 minutes doesn't do that. It runs into the close at a perfect rate. So that's why I like to use it. It just keeps it a little bit more even across the board.
And I think you guys have a YouTube video even going over why you like 65-minute candles.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I said, it's very useful. And when you're looking at the hourly, you might see low volume on a 30-minute candle, not knowing it's the 30-minute candle of the day, and it can mess with your analysis. So that's why we prefer to do 65 minutes for the most part. But getting into building the strategy, so on the left here, you can see this is going to be your entry conditions once you have your strategy tester open. On the right side is going to be your exit conditions, and we're going to label what exactly we want those to be. Now for the entry conditions, we're going to click add parameter. This is where we're going to start inputting what we want to test. We're going to do condition here, and we're going to say we want price on the 65-minute, which is already selected here. We're going to say price close, and it's going to give you some options: greater than, less than, or equal to, or within range of. I'm going to select greater than here, and we're going to say indicator, and we're just going to type in any indicator. For this example, we'll do the EMA. So I'm going to select exponential moving average. Now you see currently it's a 20 EMA, that's the default setting. But if you just click the EMA itself, the button, it's going to allow you to change the length of it. So I'm going to switch this to the 8 EMA, and we're going to copy this over basically to the exit conditions and just say price close less than the 8 EMA. So simply this bot is going to, or the strategy is going to be, enter above 8 EMA, you want to be in the uptrend, and then exit when it's below the 8 EMA. So let me build that in the exit conditions here real quick. We're going to say price close is less than, we're going to do indicator exponential moving average again, and we're going to tell it to be the 8 EMA. So now you can see we have our entry and our exit conditions in here. Now at the top of the bar, you can see you can change the time frame of it. You can do 15-minute if you want to do the daily, the weekly, you can always change that. But that'll be 65-minute for this example. Now the next button's pretty important. It's going to be data. Now this is going to change how much you're back testing. The default's the chart, so you're just going to test what's on the chart itself. But I like to go deep and do the 7,000 candles just to try to get the best idea of how it performs on a more long-term basis. So once you have that selected, it's going to run for you. It's going to give you the results of the back test. And you can see here over the last 5 years, highlighted here, data analyzed, the net profit of this strategy is up 81% versus SPY being up 45% in the same period. So you can see almost double the net profit, but that's not what I find interesting. Obviously, you want to have high net profit, but the biggest thing for investors and traders in particular is managing risk. That's always my main focus, and that's why I love charts. That you can identify where to get rid of risk. So you can see at the bottom here, max drawdown 9.5%. Now it's important to remember over the last 5 years, we've had the COVID crash, we had last year's bear market, which have resulted in 30% losses plus in each case. And the max drawdown, if you were just buying above the 8 EMA and not buying when it's below, is 9%. So huge discrepancy there. Not only does the strategy outperform SPY on a relative basis, but also gets rid of the risk compared to what you'd see in a normal strategy.
And by the way, just this strategy alone, I'll bring this up. Just this strategy alone over a year would pay for Trendspider.
Yeah.
Just an alert where you get a text, where you get an email, it would pay for Trendspider itself versus a Jim Cramer text service.
Right.
We all know rule number 2 in our podcast. Don't listen to Jim Cramer. But I mean, this is a simple strategy, and it's great. And I usually, when I go over my stuff, it's usually 1,000 candles. Since my algorithm is fairly simple, just like this, it is 1,000 candles, and I look for a little bit more momentum, but it's on a 4-hour, just because 65-minute candle. I haven't bought into yours. The math makes sense, though. I want to make sure I'm not downing you, as it doesn't make sense. The math makes total sense on a 65-minute candle. And this strategy alone, I mean, you can see it. Net profit 80% versus just buying and holding is 44%. SPY is what we base our, performance on. If you can beat the SPY over a 5 to 7 year period, you got legend status.
Right. Yeah, and you can duplicate this from SPY. We always recommend to look at stocks with good liquidity, just because that would give you the best entry and exit positions and best back test. So all you have to do is type in a different chart to be able to run the back test again. I'll do the Qs here to give you another example of how this performs. So as this loads, net profit for the Qs is 125%. And the asset performance, so Qs did 65% during that period. Obviously, you can see on this asset performance chart here, the blue line being the strategy was actually underperforming for an overwhelming majority of the bull market. That's expected. You're not going to be able to. Not many strategies will beat a market in a bull market. That's just how it ends up being. But you can see where we started to outperform is during this bear market is where we caught up. And like I said earlier, managing risk is always more important than getting the gains themselves, because some people can't afford to lose 50%, especially if you're near retirement. But with this strategy here alone, 14% was your biggest drawdown over the last 5 years. And when you're looking at the technology sector, that's pretty incredible.
And it is funny because I've had some people use my algorithm and they complain, well, I'm not winning over 50% of the time, but that's not the point. The point is not to win the majority of times. The point is to make sure that when you're losing, you get out sooner rather than later.
Right.
And that's what we saw. And Dan, by the way, Dan did a fantastic video on your YouTube channel about how to customize strategies. And I think it was last week he released it. By going in and understanding that, hey, if we just go out 1 candle or 2 candles or something like that, and he built a complete strategy for you on there. So if you want to, again, David's strategy here, my strategy is the algorithm, Dan's strategy. You don't even have to build your own. Just you copy and customize one of the other ones. But again, this is great because Trendspider, like I said, it's a tool to help you trade and to get the emotion out of the trade. This is a great strategy. I may use this strategy now.
I have a bot running for it right now on Spy. So I was in class earlier and I got the alert that it exited the position for me. And sure enough, get out of class, you look at TD Ameritrade, it's gone. So that's kind of going to segue into the next part of what I wanted to talk about, which is automating these strategies. So after you build the strategy, you find one you like. The great thing is all you have to do is click launch as trading bot. Now this is going to give you a couple different options. One of which, if this happens on the time frame you select, it's going to send you a text message whenever it's supposed to enter or exit. So that's the basic alert part of it. Now, alerts obviously can be very effective. I recommend SMS just because I'd rather receive a text than wait to look at my email inbox at the end of the day and realize I should have got out of something. But from here, you can do email. Now, the next part is where you're going to be able to automate it itself, which is going to be the webhook. Now, we have a service called Signal Stack. Now, Signal Stack is the order router. So anytime that you or Trendspider creates an alert, it'll send you a text message and it'll also send Signal Stack the order, which will route it to your brokerage from there. So Signal Stack is simply the order router system. Trendspider sends them the alert and they send your broker the alert. So they're kind of the middleman there. Now, the best part too is whenever you're building these, you can change the shares, you can change the symbol you want to run it on. So it's pretty easy to change. Signal Stack does give you the small code. There's about maybe 3 lines of code that goes on the webhook body. So they'll provide you with that. You don't have to know how to do that yourself. Same thing with the webhook. We'll provide that, the URL. So once you get signed up there, you'll be able to completely automate this, send it to your brokerage, whether that be TD Ameritrade, E-Trade, Interactive Brokers. We have a pretty decent list on the site there.
And a key point is making sure that you set this up with the symbol that you have on, because if you just say, oh, this strategy is what I want, and I want it on 20 different symbols, you got to set it up 20 different times. So that's a key point, just because it's not going to do it. It's not plug and play where it'll do it on your entire portfolio. Correct. It's just each symbol. But I don't know who's setting up a strategy trading 20 different stocks on a bot.
All right. Yeah. That's a very common question we get is, can you run this on multiple different names? The answer is yes and no. No being for the smallest tier within Trendspider, you can't run a trading bot. For our middle tier, that's going to be up to 3 trading bots, and our top tier, which is our advanced tier, is up to 5 bots. So you do have some flexibility depending on which tier you're in to be able to run these. Typically, most people only have a few running on the most liquid names like SPY, Qs, maybe some of their leverage ETFs are the most popular that we see. So that's definitely something to keep in mind as well whenever you're looking to build one.
I have not gotten comfortable enough with bots. Just full disclosure. I know
take some time.
You guys at Trendspider, you guys at Trendspider have gotten comfortable at it. Personally, I'm just not that comfortable with it. There are some subscribers who do it, but I have not gotten that comfortable. Although the back testing of this 8-day EMA, I like this, David.
I
like that one a lot.
Yeah, it's great. And like I said, max drawdown, you're similar in style as I am, where you'd rather manage risk than not. Contrary to some people that we may know across the area. So being able to control your max drawdown and just backtest your strategies is really one of our main focuses this year. Is we found during the bear market, a lot of people were switching from their previous strategies. A lot of the bull market strategies didn't work in the bear market, and vice versa. So people were rotating through tons of strategies through the bear market, trying to figure out what actually works. And the great thing is with Trendspider, we'll tell you exactly how it works over a historical period of time. So
and the other thing that I look at a lot, actually, which I don't know has any statistical significance, but that seasonality in the bottom right corner. I typically look at that for something like a Q, like a SPY,
Mhm.
and just to see which months of the year over a 24, like you've got it up there for 24 years now on the Q. And you can see the month of June, shit, I'm backing up the Brinks truck in the month of June and November
Mhm.
on the Qs. If you tell me I got a 7 out of 10 chance based on the last 24 years to actually win if I go in on the first of the month and out the last day of the month, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in.
That's
So
it's definitely useful. I'll touch on the sidebar here in a moment. So as you can see, seasonality for QQQ over 24 years. Seasonality is always interesting because there's two different ways to play it. You can either ride the seasonality, or if you see something like in November where it's an outlier being 75%, some people take the opposite view and try to play the mean reversion play of it, saying, well, I don't know why November should be better than these other months. So I'm going to say I'm going to short instead and hope that this number averages out across the other months. So seasonality can be very interesting to use. And we do have very deep data. So as much data as we have on the platform for Qs, this one will go back 24 years. So can definitely be useful for sure. You can notice above the seasonality there, we have unusual options. This is one of the things that really attracted me from TradingView when I had been a user in the past before working here. Unusual options, usually you'll have to go to a third party. You'll have to subscribe to another service, go to whatever the case may, whoever the company may be. You'll have to have another subscription. So that's really one of our main goals at Trendspider is we're trying to be all in one. So rather than having 8 tabs open of 8 different subscriptions you're paying monthly, we're trying to give you all that data here. So that's the main goal. So unusual options, great tool. We also have a pretty unique graph that goes along with it to see all the different orders coming through. So you can see the premium, the strike price, the expiration, the key data you need there. So that's
and
our.
I know some folks,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
some folks listen to the podcast, and when I tell them on the algorithm, hey, there's an entry, they'll go and play options.
Mhm.
So, like 40, I think 40% of my portfolio is actually Apple. It's embarrassing to say, but I had the only time I ever sold Apple, David, was December of this year, and I've held it since 2007. I haven't sold a share. I've just been adding to it, but I know a couple of people have played Apple against on the options, and they've done pretty well. You can see my algorithm, I think, had a buy-in at 130, and it's been ever since. And you can see on David's strategy of just the 8-day, it's added. You've been in and out much more often than my algorithm, which is on a 4-hour chart, but you've probably gotten about the same amount, I think, as far as gain goes. But
Mhm.
I think it was around 130, if I remember correctly, was my algorithm.
Yeah, that's a great trade. This one's been ripping, and Apple obviously has a lot of effect on the market, being what is it, 7-8% of the total weighting. I actually heard this interesting stat the other day that you might find interesting, which is Apple's market cap is larger than the entire energy sector combined.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's
I
insane.
know. And I always say a company that several of their verticals, like the wearables, could be a Fortune, an S&P top 5 company if it were
Mhm.
broken off. Um, Listen, I could buy the Qs or I can just buy Apple, one or the other in my mind.
Yeah.
And I think, to be honest with you, my opinion of Apple, I have an iPhone right here, I have an iPad on the other side, I got my AirPods, and I'm talking to you on an iMac, and my MacBook Pro's in the other room that I typically use. So
Yeah.
I'm all in. When the iPhone came out, that's where I invested it. And I tell people I just don't trade it. You can trade it, and I know a lot of people do the options on Apple just because they can buy outdated options. And if you buy the stock, you can use a covered call strategy for
Mhm.
those dips.
Right.
So that unusual options actually helps, I think, specifically. I just never used it, but I like that it's there.
Yeah, it's great, and it's cool too because you can filter the premium. So If we want to see trades that are over, we'll say 600,000, you see where the big money's flowing there. So if you put two puts today, one being 800 grand, the other being 982. So you can always consider that when throughout price movement through day-to-day basis. Um, so that's our strategy tester. As you can see, I ran it here on Apple. 174 versus 195. So buy and hold does outperform, but you also have a 29% drawdown. I'm actually interested to run this briefly over the last 1,000 candles, which is going to be the last 8 months. The strategy's up 3.9% versus 0.5, and the max drawdown was 17%, which was pretty steep. So yeah.
Which we've all, yeah. I mean, since I cover Apple pretty much every day, just because it's the large portion of my portfolio. I mean, this 8-day makes sense for me. 1,000, 2,000 yeah, 2,000 candles, 19% versus minus 3%.
Right.
So, what the hell am I losing money for, David?
I often ask myself the same question. So you're not alone. Yeah, but that's our strategy tester. You can see Apple over the last year performed 19% versus 3, so it definitely held out through the bear market. And that's the goal of playing the momentum of it. So that's our strategy. Last couple of things I wanted to touch on here. Gary, I know you used to be more fundamental, and you came to charts really to help manage risk and kind of get a different picture of what the market's doing. So what I wanted to touch on is some of our fundamental stuff that we have within the platform. It may not be necessarily fundamental, but it'll also be more of a macro look as well. And that's all going to be found under our other data. So other data is going to have analyst estimates. Those will pop up at the bottom of your screen, almost as volume would. So that's how some people use it. If I switch back to the daily chart here on Apple, you can see all the different recommendations. It looks like no one has been crazy enough to sell Apple yet in the past couple of years, which can't blame them. I wouldn't either. But tons of different data. So the main one I wanted to touch on here was going to be our Federal Reserve economic data and our market breadth. Federal Reserve economic data, that's called FRED data. We have over 5,000 lists from anything from 30-year mortgage rates to really just about anything you can think of that the Federal Reserve would provide. And then market breadth is always one of my favorites. As a swing trader, I think it's important to know what gears are turning in the market. You get a more deep look at what everything is doing rather than just looking at an index alone. So I want to touch on those here briefly. Relative strength and MACD, I'm just going to get rid of those just to save some space here. I'm going to look at our FRED data. Looks like market breadth here. Having a hard time seeing this with this background. Let me
with the back.
let me change it around real quick.
Go back to Go back to what you're comfortable. Oh, and now it's gray.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay. I'll change this back to black. So you see both the market breadth at the top here, and you can also see our FRED data. So as I mentioned, tons of different lists down here. This is the CPI index for all urban consumers. But as I mentioned, you can see something like a 30-year, or maybe I had to type that in a little bit differently, 30-year fixed rate mortgage average. So anything that you're interested in from a macro perspective, mostly you'll be able to do it. And the great thing is you can correlate these with charts. So you can see, for example, here with mortgage rates, as soon as mortgage rates started to go up, looks like the market started to head down. So you can use it as its own indicator, really, and it helps you provide a more macro analysis. So that's our FRED data. Now, market breadth, as I mentioned, this is one of my favorites. There's a few different properties or lists that you can scan through. If you just click the 3 dots like a normal indicator, it'll pop up this list here. So for the list, I'll just keep it to S&P 500 as the standard. That's just what most people look through. And then the series is going to show the different types of breadth that you can look at. So your advanced decline ratio, you can look at how many stocks are above the 50 SMA and 200 SMA, how many stocks are making 52-week highs and lows. For this example, I know you said you use the 50 SMA and the 200 a good bit. So let's look at what percent of stocks are above the 200 SMA. Um, I've heard the old analogy is nothing good happens under the 200 SMA, and that stands pretty true for the most part.
Other than buying.
Yeah, yeah. If you're confident in a stock like Apple, maybe you can buy under the 200 SMA. But some of those small caps, I can't say I'd ever recommend it. Uh-huh.
No. The larger ones I've always considered under 200 SMA as an opportunity, because it will play specifically on the 4-hour chart. It typically plays pretty well, but small caps. This is why I always tell people, hey, find a position, find some stocks that you're comfortable with. Be an expert in 10 stocks rather than a generalist in 500.
Right. I completely agree. Yeah, I remember when I was first starting out, it was Warren Buffett was one of the first ones that I had really studied. Obviously, he was just a big name. He says, "Don't buy anything you don't understand." Uh, I think that stands pretty true. If you like the company, go for it. Especially if you're someone coming from a long term point of view. I don't see. I mean, just your analogy of looking at what's around you. You have 5 Apple products. That's a pretty good indicator of what a good company looks like, if you ask me. So
If they made a TV, I'd have a TV hanging on the wall. Instead, I just have the little box that I have on sitting at the desk.
yeah, if they made water bottles, I'd have those. If they made
Yep.
cars, I'd have those.
Yeah. I mean, the car's coming out, the
Yeah,
headset's coming out. I mean, earnings next week. I'm telling you, I don't know that we're going up, but you're not making a mistake buying it at 130 in my mind at some point. But
sure. Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
so this is the market breadth for, what was it? The
S&P.
S&P.
Yeah.
Okay, over the 200-day.
Correct. So what we can see here is the different trends. So at the bottom, if we're looking at October 13th, which was the bottom here for S&P, we can see 0.17, so 17.7% of stocks were above their 200 SMA. From a breadth perspective, that is terrible. That is not a market you want to be involved in. But we've had a great rally since then. Currently, we're sitting at 61.8% of stocks above that 200 SMA. Is it a bottom? Maybe. Nobody knows. But what we can see from under the surface is more stocks are above their 200 SMAs now, which is typically a bullish indicator. It's what you would see in a bull market. The question is, does it turn back around, or do we continue to thrust to try to get back to these bull market levels of 80 to 90% of stocks above their SMAs? So that's the basics of market breadth. I just think it's great to get to see what's under what's the foundation of the market. The SPY, for example, won't show you everything about what's going on under the surface. So market breadth is a great place to start for that.
That is great, man. I haven't used, see, half the stuff you pointed out today, I don't even use.
Right. Yeah.
And these people listen to me as the expert.
It's a lot. I've just been fortunate to work here for over a year now and be able to dive in and have a lot of fun with some of these features. It definitely does take some time for anybody that's new that is listening and looking to try out Trendspider. I would say it would take a few weeks to really start to get adjusted. Off the bat, it might seem a little what's the best word, overwhelming for some people. So our support team's there to help. They're always right there in the bottom right of your screen with the contact us button. They respond very quickly, and they're professionals at what they do. They're better than I am. So definitely speak with them if you do have any questions. But these are most of the features I wanted to go over. Is there any questions or anything in specific you'd like to look at?
I don't think so. I mean, again, the reason I started using TrendSpider was to take emotion out of the trade. And I think um, just like anything else that you use, if you pick up a video game, you're not an expert. You're never going to beat the best in the business. When you pick that up, it takes time, it takes understanding, and it takes some skill. The great thing is that TrendSpider, I wasn't an expert when I started using TrendSpider. I knew charting a little bit, but it's made me a significantly better trader and investor. I mean, my my net worth has increased significantly since TrendSpider, even with the downturn of last year, I don't think I would have been able to manage my portfolio as effectively as I did last year without the algorithm, without the back testing, without things like that sort. I've got mine set up where it's kind of plug and play. But what's nice is doing this kind of education with David. I saw a bunch of stuff that now I'm dying to dig into. And what's nice about the elite group, that middle group, it's not just that you get the back testing and things of that sort, but I like the additional workspaces because now I can keep my workspace for the podcast as my main workspace, but I can go into other workspaces and completely just customize everything. Oh, and this is that multi chart that you guys have.
Yeah, this is for the day traders out there. You want to look at 16 stocks at once? You can do it.
How do you set this up? I've never done this. How do you set this up?
Yeah, so if you go to the top left of the screen there, where you change how
I
many
see.
charts
Okay,
there
okay.
are, you click multi-symbol view. That's when this will pop up. And this can be anything from, if you want to look at 4 charts at once, you can always type those in and draw, or you can do up to 16. So tons of different customized.
Can you look at 4 charts of the same stock on a different time frame?
You can, yeah. So if I pull up, we'll do.
That's day trading right there.
Yeah, if you're someone that likes to use time frame to be able to confirm what you're looking at on multiple time frames, this is definitely useful. So
Yeah, because you can go 5-minute, 10-minute, and 15-minute and see where it's going from a day. I mean, that's ultimate day trading when you're down to just scalping some stocks. But I never knew that you could do this. I usually do this on Trendspider, on Active Trader Pro.
yeah,
This is even better. It's
yeah,
not taking up my system resources. It's taking up yours.
exactly. Yeah, so I you can see here I have the daily, the hourly, the 15-minute, and 5-minute. You can customize it however you'd like, but this is the basics of how it looks. You can have all your indicators on each if you'd like. Market breadth, for example, I just added that. But yeah, very useful, especially for those who are actively trading a certain name or list. You can have, SPY, Qs, IWM, Apple, Tesla. You can look at all the main ones at the same time.
That's great. And I know you guys have custom indicators like I think I'd mentioned to you before, go, no go,
Mm-hmm.
and the strat and things of that sort that you guys have set up that people can just add. It's a simple. I've used go, no go before. Specifically, I think I was trading. Oh, what was it? It might have been the TQQQ on go, no go.
Mm.
Um, those triple levered ones. And I was trying to determine, okay, where's the trend going? Should I get in? Where's the go, no go stuff? And I don't know any strategy, by the way, that will work on TQQQ since it's a decaying asset. And I tell people don't hold this thing for more than a couple of days at a time. But is this your 8-day? Yeah, this is a 65-minute 8-day. Let's see what happens. Holy cow.
I
Oh
was going
my.
to tell. I didn't have time to go over it earlier, but TQQQ and this works on SQQQ as well. You can see max drawdown 43% in 5 years, which is insane for a 3 times leverage product. And the net profit, you can see there's a little bit of a discrepancy being 750% versus 40% over 5 years. So
Wow.
pretty neat stuff.
Wow. Yeah. No, again, if you guys are interested in subscribing, it's amazing. And I don't sell you guys anything. I mean, I don't have a tech service. I don't have a book that I'm selling. I will tell, and I do tell people, by the way, David, if you're not actively trading more than like 3 to 4 times a week, Trendspider probably doesn't make sense for you.
Sure.
Probably makes sense just to tune into the podcast and ask me to look at a stock for you. The best deal was Black Friday by far, but I've got the 25% off code with DSP 25 for Daily Stock Pick 25.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can, sign up for another offer if it comes out better, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's the DSP 25 will allow you to sign up for a month. It'll allow you to sign up for a year. It'll allow you to sign up for any time frame, I think, that you want and get 25% off. And it's a 7-day free trial too.
Yeah.
So this is great. David, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad I was able to show off this strategy. I love being able to show it. It's pretty interesting on some of these names like TQQ. So yeah, I
Yeah.
really do appreciate it.
And while you're still offering the free one-on-one sessions, I suggest people log in and ask for a one-on-one to get a new strategy from each person that you
Yeah,
sign up for.
yeah, definitely.
Because this was great. I mean, I'm adding this to one of my workflows. Honest to God, 754% on TQQQ versus 42%.
Yeah,
But remember, it's a decaying asset, and that's why this is great, is because it gets you in and out. And you can customize your strategy and your view of this thing completely.
right.
Oh,
Yeah,
this is Tesla. This is the big boy. Wow. Wow. And it has you in right now at 142.
yep, yep, sure does. It's pretty impressive stuff. I mean, it works on particularly works well on high beta names. So anything that moves quick, it gets you in a large portion of the move and it gets you out quick. So you don't want something that's chopping you around necessarily.
And
But
beta's in your results down there in the tabular data as well.
yep, yep. So you can see it works well on a lot of these. Max drawdown AMD 43%. I'm assuming we're probably at about 50% from the highs, or maybe 40. At the lows, we were probably 80%. It felt like, at least. So definitely helps protect your downside, which is sweet.
I'm a holder who's dollar cost averaging right now.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this has been great. I mean, if anybody signs up and they find something, please let me know. But that 8-day strategy, that's moving into my daily routine now. That's been
Awesome.
great. David, thank you for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me. And as we mentioned, if anybody has any questions, Gary or myself as well is a great resource. I go by Yoakum's Charting on Twitter. So you can find me there. Ask me, feel free to DM me or shoot me any comments, and I'm happy to help out. So whatever we can do at Trendspider to be able to help you guys become more efficient, be able to back test your own strategies, whatever the case may be, you have our full interest. So thanks again for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, because rule number one, don't listen to a douche on the internet about what stock to buy, right?
You're right. 100%.
Thanks, David.
Yep, absolutely.